when you talk about Marxism, is like talking about a family of ideologies. Imagine a tree, and from that tree you have various branches. You have like gender studies, queer theory, post-colonialism. Like all of these things come under the same umbrella. It's kind of like when you talk about felines. You have house cats, you have lions, tigers, and pumas. But at the end of the day, they're all felines, right? So it's the same with Marxism. And the reason I bring it up is that I believe only Marxist ideologies are against the concept that parents own their children. Like, this is a saying that exists in many nations, many human cultures throughout history. And no one has a problem with this saying, except for the Marxist. And it's very interesting, right? Because it's not something that's supposed to be oppressive, even though, like, Marxists usually talk about the liberation of children, which, again, it's a Marxist concept, liberation. But in Romania, if you go in a mountain village and no one knows who you are, like you're a stranger in that village, you will be asked, who do you belong to? In other words, it means, what family are you from? It's a normal question that you get, right? And I think the reason for this is that they, being secluded in a rural area, they still maintain some of the old traditions. So basically, like, what they want to know is, like, if you're from a family from within the village, so they can treat you nicer, right? So that they can put a smile on your face, invite you to their house or stuff like that. That's why they ask the question. It's not a mean-spirited question, even though, like, it sounds as if it is, right? It's to spark conversation. But going back to the concept of the parents own their kids, and as you can see here, you got this lady on Twitter with 3.8 million views saying that parents do not own their children. Kids are people, not things. They have a right to privacy about their sexuality and gender identity, to choose when and whom they share those intimate details about their life. I've never heard more falsities, and it's very easy to debunk, right? So if parents don't own their children, if my 5-year-old child goes to your house and, let's say, throw some stones at your window, right? Because I didn't do a good job at educating them, and my child breaks your window, who's responsible? Who's going to buy you a new window? Is it my kid? Well, he doesn't have a job. He can't make money. So the answer is that I am responsible. There was also a recent case in Romania where a grandmother didn't pay attention to what her kid was doing, and he jumped a fence, went onto another property, and got mauled by dogs. And the public, as well as the law, is holding the grandmother responsible. So, how can you be responsible if you do not have control over the thing you're responsible for? I mean, if we are to assume that kids can do anything they want, right? Like, they're people, not things, as this lady is saying. So if the kids are people, not things, and they can do whatever they want, then why would the parent be responsible then? Like, do you not notice the conflict of interest that you have here? Because in order for me to educate my child so that it doesn't do delinquent acts, I need to be able to instill rules. I need to be able to restrict some of his freedoms. Like, for example, if he doesn't listen to me and goes on my neighbor's property, I should be able to ground him and say he's not allowed out of his room, or restrict social media access from him, or whatever I think that is necessary. But in the Marxist logic, if I do this, then it's kind of like having a slave. Like, I'm oppressing my child. And you will notice a lot of Democrat politicians as well going around saying that it's not your child, it's our child, right? So this is what they want to do. They want to disassociate the concept that the parent is the one that educates the child, and instead they want to allow the state, the government, to be the one that educates your child. In other words, like, the parent should just be this entity that pays whenever the kid does any type of damage. And if possible, just have sex, produce the child, and then that's it. You know, provide the shelter and a home, and then the child is going to be educated by social media, by the government, by the television, by corporations. Maybe he's going to be groomed at school, like at a very early age, he's going to be discussing sexuality, and you as the parent should have no say whether or not this gets to happen. Right? Like this is the friction that's happening in the West, the controversy, I guess. And it all starts from here. It all starts from, like, what Marxists love to do is to attack language. Right? Just because when you say, I own someone, it makes people think of slavery, right? Which is illegal. But when you say, like, the slave master owns the slave, it's completely different from saying that the parent owns his child. Like, even though the word is the same, the meaning is different. Because there is an emotional bond to be had there. There is a side of affection, of love, a biological imperative of parents to protect their children. I mean, there are parents who would sacrifice their life for the child, and that's even expected from society, and from the parents, they expect that to themselves. Yeah. So when you say, like, the parent owns the child, even though, like, it's the same word that is used, it's a completely different context. It's a completely different connotation. And yeah, like, parents are legally obligated to care for their children and keep them safe. Teachers are not even the police. Right? So, like if your kid does something bad at school, it's still the parent that is responsible. It's not the teacher in many jurisdictions. And of course, children are not sexual beings. So, individuals like this, especially Marxists, have no authority, right, or privilege to keep sexual secrets with children from their parents. I think, like, this is common sense, right? And then is the idea that children know better. It's like, I tend to disagree. Like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a bus driver. I wanted to be Superman. Like, I wanted to be so many things. Why is it that this particular thing, why is, like, just this particular one thing is the one that you believe children know better in? And I find it to be very fascinating, right? And I only notice that it goes one way, right? Like, if a child wants to change their gender, then it's being promoted. But if a child who changed his gender wants to revert back, then it's like, well, are you sure? Like, is no one pressing you to do this? So it's a double standard, which is very interesting. And I think we're going to see more of them on social media because they're becoming more and more frequent and more difficult to suppress. So yes, let me know. Now, if you happen to like my channel for whatever reason, although I don't know what that could be, there is a pinned comment down below. A pinned comment. The comment section, and it takes you to my Subscribestar, where you can purchase some of the worst buyer's remorse you ever had in your life. It's cheap, by the way. Like, even for $5, you can get the buyer's remorse. Hey, look, I gotta shill for if I don't shill for myself, who will, right? So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.